This week on Jerusalem Dateline, a special look at tourism in the Holy Land as Israel is on its way to a record-breaking year. From church groups making spiritual pilgrimages to students working at archaeological digs, even Christians who help harvest crops in a quest to fulfill biblical prophecy. All this and more on this week's Jerusalem Dateline. Hello, I'm Chris Mitchell. Welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline, coming to you with the walls of the Old City and the Jaffa Gate just behind us. You know, tourism is down in many parts of the world, but not here in the Holy Land. Visitors continue to pour in, and 2014 could be another record-breaking year. Here's a look at what visitors can expect when they walk where Jesus walked. This is the scene outside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. It's just one example of the many Christians making their way to the Holy Land this year. CBN News followed one church group on their pilgrimage. Many Christians begin their journey not in Jerusalem, but up in the Galilee, where Jesus began his earthly ministry. That includes this group from Virginia's New Life Providence Church.
Who knows, Jesus might have been stilling the storm right in this very spot. It certainly wouldn't be unlikely.
Pastor Dan Backens says coming to Israel means a lot.
As a pastor, what I enjoy about coming to Israel is, first of all, to see the excitement in the parishioners that come with me or the guests that can come along in our tour group, to see the Bible come alive for them and what God does in their own heart through their trip here to Israel.
Debbie Carter waited 38 years for her chance.
I have cried and wept and leapt for joy the whole time I've been here, seeing the many spots where my Lord walked.
Many others feel the same.
It's a life-changing experience, a life-changing experience. I would not have missed it for the world.
Like most Christians touring the Galilee, they also visited Capernaum, home of the Apostle Peter, and the Mount of Beatitudes, where Jesus preached the Sermon on the Mount. After the Galilee, many tours head south to visit the Dead Sea and Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. But for most, the highlight is Jerusalem, where Jesus died, was buried, and rose again. Here the group is on the Mount of Olives overlooking the city. The most meaningful thing for many Christians is the opportunity to walk where Jesus walked. For example, this is the path many believe Jesus took from the Mount of Olives into Jerusalem. One of those places is the Garden of Gethsemane. The Gospels record this is the place where Jesus prayed the night before he was crucified and said to his Father, "Not my will, but yours be done." For some, it brought home the lesson of the agony of Jesus in the garden.
I don't ever have to be in the Garden of Gethsemane pleading before the Father, because Jesus did it already.
They also walked along the Via Dolorosa, the traditional site where Jesus carried his cross on the way to Calvary, and also sang in St. Anne's Church with its world-famous acoustics. Their tour guide, Erez Bar David, has led thousands of Christians throughout the land of the Bible.
People go through a very, very deep experience, spiritual and emotional experience when they're here. I think it's just this deeper understanding of Scripture.
When you read the Scriptures, you're kind of looking at it in black and white, but when you come here, it just really jumps off the page. It makes the Bible jump off the page, and you're able to see really in color, you know, wow, like this is real, you know, this is really what our faith is built upon.
But is it safe? Many people don't visit Israel because they're afraid.
If I could dispel any kinds of fear about someone traveling to Israel, you know, the media sometimes portrays the threat of terrorism and unrest. Israel is probably the safest tourist destination that there is, because everyone here, Arab, Palestinian, Israeli, Jew, non-Jew, they want tourism.
Israel's tourism minister sees evangelical Christians as much more than just tourists.
You are not the guests, you are partners. It's also, the Holy Land also belongs to you.
Christian pilgrims say there are many reasons to visit Israel, from the personal to the prophetic.
It's a real tangible way that we as Christians in the United States can support Israel in this very important time, not only prophetically, but in their national history, what they're going through too.
It's become an amazing personal experience for me, one that I'll never forget, and it's almost too much to put into words.
And for many, it's like coming home. It's a neat experience to see the impact that Israel has on so many visitors. And you know, each year, hundreds of people come to work on archaeological digs. And for many, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. South of Jerusalem, in a place called Ramat Raquel, dozens of volunteers dug back into biblical history, as far back as when the Assyrian king Sennacherib besieged Jerusalem.
The most exciting finds here are really the Iron Age. The Iron Age is a biblical period. And if you know the story about Hezekiah and the Assyrians coming down from the north, Sennacherib comes down to Jerusalem. We have Hezekiah's tunnel in Jerusalem. Well, we're finding now walls and now today a tower from that period.
Tel Aviv University sponsored this dig. During the excavation, they discovered coins, pottery, and artifacts from thousands of years ago. About 100 volunteers worked on this site. They came from all over the world and for various reasons.
Some of them are interested in archaeology already. Others are trying to see whether they're interested in the future. Some of them are studying theology.
Many of the volunteers were Christians. Down in the dirt, they experienced how the land of Israel, its history, and the Bible come together.
It gives you a sense of the history, that you're in touch with the history because you're actually touching pieces of history, and to see the different levels, you can see the layers of time, and not just from modern, but all the way down to the Iron Age.
This father brought his daughter and son to experience the dig.
I knew I just had to expose my kids to this environment and this opportunity and let it work. Let it work its magic. It's a wonderful place to be, and it's a wonderful activity. A little tough physically. I didn't know how the kids would react. I knew they'd do well, but they've done much better than I thought, and expectations are exceeded all around.
You're there where it happened 2,000 years ago, and it's really something that has to be experienced. You can't really imagine it. And when you're digging through the Iron Age pottery, you're digging through the Iron Age dirt, you're digging through what dirt was from that time period, from the people who may have seen Jesus, known him.
I'm learning about Jesus' life and death here in Jerusalem and Bethlehem. We've been traveling around seeing various historical sites where Jesus may have walked in right where you're standing now,
The volunteers ranged in age from 10 to 70. While it's hard work, they considered it well worth the physical investment.
It's an indispensable sort of experience in terms of grasping the reality of history and the roots of Christian Jewish faith. And I would recommend it highly for anyone. No concerns about safety or health. We've had a wonderful time.
So after those artifacts are dug up, people need to see how they shed light on Bible times. Now here's a look at a museum that houses some of those ancient objects.
The Israel Museum first opened its doors in 1965. Now, after 3 years of renovations, the museum is reopening its unique treasure of archaeological artifacts, Judaica, and fine art to the public.
We're kind of a crossroads in the world, and certainly in ancient times this was so. But even after the Western world entered the picture, it's somehow as if Jerusalem sits at the center of the universe.
James Snyder is director of what he says is the largest, most active museum in this region of the world.
What we have in the end, indeed, is a really rich and strong universal collection of 500,000 objects beginning 1.5 million years ago and coming to contemporary art today.
Behind me is part of the gate to the fortress of Hatzor from the time of King Ahab. Thousands of artifacts on display here in the museum help to bring biblical times to life.
Archaeology Wing has a story to tell that you can't get anywhere else in the world.
The Archaeology Wing focuses on the story of the land of Israel. through a narrative about man in this country, how he lived, whom he worshipped, how he was buried.
We are trying to emphasize the story of the Bible, the birth of monotheism, the First and Second Temple periods, and the emergence of the three monotheistic religions.
An inscription from the 9th century BC is the earliest archaeological evidence of the dynasty of King David. 2 shrines from about the 7th to 8th century BC were found just about 30 miles apart. They show the struggle that existed here between belief in the one God of the Bible and pagan idol worship at the time.
We learned a lot about the living from the burials.
Archaeologists found 2 silver amulets inside one burial chamber. They bear verses from the Book of Numbers, the earliest biblical verses ever found, dating to about 600 BC. That's 400 years older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. On display for the first time is a huge Crusader period fresco discovered near Gethsemane.
It's very exciting to have archaeology and make it so clear, so fascinating, that for all those who thought in the past this is something we cannot come close to, they will be absorbed into it.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, why some Christians visit to work the fields of the Holy Land.
Pat Boone here with a word about bank safety. Do you think your money is safe in the bank? Don't bank on it. A generation ago, bank accounts felt secure and they paid interest. This encouraged the virtue of thrift and saving. But today, bank accounts pay virtually nothing, and they've shifted from low risk to high risk. For example, did you know your money deposited in most U.S. banks could be subject to limited withdrawal and even confiscation? Oh yes, and that's just the first of 19 risks explained in a new white paper entitled Don't Bank on It. You still think your bank deposits are safe? You better get this vital new Don't Bank on It white paper now. Call the number on the screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, the gold standard. Learn how simple it is to become your own banker today.
Millions of Americans with an ostomy live their lives to the fullest every day. And over the last 10 years, thousands have chosen Liberator Medical as their caring and reliable resource for ostomy supplies. Liberator Medical is a nationally accredited Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance provider, so we can handle all your Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance paperwork and billing. And Liberator Medical has been chosen as a preferred supplier by all the leading ostomy manufacturers, including Coloplast, Hollister, Convatec, and Generics. We supply all these leading ostomy brands, so you can always get the ostomy supplies and accessories you want and trust. And all of our ostomy care specialists are product certified by the manufacturers. Shipping is free and discreetly delivered right to your door. Unhappy with your present ostomy supplier? Call Liberator Medical and ask about our free ostomy sampling program. We also offer catheters and urological supplies.
Call 1-800-513-3076. That's 1-800-513-3076.
Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. Well, not only thousands of tourists come here each year, but now hundreds of Christians come to help Israel's farmers harvest their crops. And those extra hands aren't only appreciated, they're also fulfilling biblical prophecy. These Christians help bring in the grape harvest for Israeli farmers. They're part of a group called HaYovel. That's Hebrew for Jubilee.
We're a group of Christian volunteers from America and from Canada and from all over the world who have come to help the Jewish people, specifically in Samaria and Judea, usually referred to as the West Bank.
This vineyard is in Ophrah, not far from biblical Shiloh. More than 300 volunteers worked 30,000 man-hours to bring in nearly 400 tons of grapes across Judea and Samaria over the last 3 months.
You get to see the thankfulness on the owners' faces when you help them out.
Zach Waller directs HaYovel. His parents came up with the idea as a way to serve Israel about 9 years ago. They hoped actions would speak louder than words to help repair relations between Jews and Christians caused by 2,000 years of persecution.
Dad said, hey, this is an opportunity that we have as believers
Yeshua, Messiah, that we can come in and serve and try to restore this relationship.
Then they discovered they were actually fulfilling Bible prophecy mentioned in Jeremiah 31:5, which says, "You shall yet plant vines on the mountains of Samaria," and Isaiah 61:5, which says, "The sons of foreigners shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers."
You will see nations coming to the land, working in the vines, helping the Jewish people. It says in the Bible, it's happening.
Local Jewish resident Aaron Lipkin sees the Christian love as a healing ointment.
Everything that is happening here is a big miracle. It's part of a process called redemption.
Team leader David Johnson oversees about 30 volunteers. This is the third season here for him and his wife.
We have a heart for the Jewish people settling the land of Israel, and it's a heart that we've been given by our Messiah, and we're here to help them.
I'm happy very much because when we walk, we sing, we see the man is very, very happy.
Rick Pauls feels so strongly about the work that he brought his wife and 5 children to pick grapes for a second year.
We feel very protected by God and by the Israeli securities. It's amazing to be here because as you read the scriptures here in this place, it just comes alive.
His wife Karen calls it an opportunity to give, but the biggest impact was just meeting the Jewish people.
Their faith is absolutely unbelievable. No one has been untouched by something pretty intense in their life. I mean, it's not for fame or glory. It's hard, and they just believe in the promises of God.
I mean, just being here is just blown me away, just being able to serve the Jewish people to enhance His kingdom here on earth.
Coming up, a bird watcher's paradise, attracting tourists in droves.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions, just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card, just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Start planning your journey to the Holy Land. Come to Jerusalem. Breathe the air Jesus breathed that very night in the Garden of Gethsemane. Walk in His footsteps to Golgotha. Step inside the tomb. See the stone where His body lay. Glory to God, He is risen. Ask your pastor or visit goisrael.com to learn more about making the journey that will transform your faith in God and His Word. Experience Israel. You'll never be the same.
You know, so much of the news coming out of the Middle East deals with violence and politics, but it's also a land of great beauty and natural wonders. Believe it or not, twice a year, 500 million birds migrate through Israel. The Hula Valley hosts millions of birds and thousands of visitors each year.
This is one of the richest sites in the world for bird watching.
Israel sort of is a junction between three continents, and birds that are essentially trying to avoid high mountains, great expanses of water, they funnel through very specific flyways.
Some of these migrating birds fly 2,000 miles in 3 to 5 days without a meal. They fly from Europe and Asia to Africa. For many, Israel is the halfway point. That point is the Hula Valley, part of a 3,700-mile stretch from Syria to Mozambique. The Bible mentions the bird migration as part of a metaphor. Even the stork in the sky knows her seasons, and the turtle dove and the swift and the thrush observe the time of their migration. Some 400 species of birds stop for refueling, and a fraction even winters here, including 30 to 45,000 cranes. Listening to them talk, one can understand why King Hezekiah said he chattered like a crane. In fact, it's not just noise. Experts say crane parents and chicks can actually recognize each other's voices. 20 years ago, there were hardly any cranes here because the natural swamps would drain for farmland. The ground didn't work for agriculture, however, so experts restored part of the lake.
And the answer was essentially to give it back to nature. And so the project has gone sort of in a circle, and we are back to trying to renovate, trying to sort of reproduce what existed here in the past.
That and a special feeding project brought the cranes back, along with the visitors.
This is a wonderful opportunity for us to educate people about birds, about nature. I think that you don't need to be a bird lover when you are coming here, but you are definitely a bird lover when you are going out of this site.
Visitors to Agamon Hahula Reserve can ride the safari wagon into the midst of the cranes. Guides say there's no place else in the world to see so many cranes in such a small area. And bird watchers come from all over to see the phenomenon.
I don't even care if you like birds. You have to experience this and come and see thousands and thousands and thousands of cranes.
If you're a birder, I don't think you could find a better place to come to see the variety of species, as well as the atmosphere and the beauty of the place is just unrivaled in any place in the world.
For now, these cranes are getting ready for the long flight back to Russia or Finland for the summer. But they'll be back next year, along with the bird lovers. Up next, the zoo that brings the Bible to life.
Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? Hi, I'm George Foreman. People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can provide patent referrals and submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee your company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-461-9290. That's 1-800-461-9290.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
last story shows that visitors can see up close and personal some of the animals mentioned in the scriptures, because here in Jerusalem, even the zoo has a biblical theme.
Did you know that monkeys were among the treasures the ships of Tarshish brought to King Solomon every 3 years? That little known fact and many others come to life at the Tisch Family Zoological Gardens, known to many as the Biblical Zoo. Some 700,000 visitors a year also learn there is more to animal life in Israel than camels and sheep.
Free afternoon. We want to enjoy the zoo. It's a beautiful zoo. We came to see the animals, right?
Not far from busy Jerusalem streets, this 60-acre biblical zoo is home to more than 1,000 animals. Many of them are native to Israel. Others have become extinct over the years, but the zoo is bringing them back to their native land.
That includes animals fought by a young shepherd named David. The Syrian brown bear, which lived in northern Israel, hasn't existed here for more than 100 years. Lions no longer prowl the hills of Israel, but at one time their presence was commonplace.
We think that the Asian lion is the lion that roamed the land of Israel more than 800 years ago, mentioned in the Bible, of course, and is also the symbol of Jerusalem and the tribe of Judah.
They took the trunks and wrapped it around other elephant's tail.
Although elephants are not found in the Bible, ivory is mentioned several times as a precious commodity.
What do you like about the giraffe?
But the giraffe is a tree.
Yeah?
It's way bigger than this.
Some Jewish sages believed the mountain sheep was actually a giraffe, and the behemoth of Job is thought to be a hippopotamus. In the Bible Land Preserve, you can see animals of the Bible roaming freely in an area like their natural habitat, like the Nubian ibex, referred to as a wild goat in the Bible. The horns of the male can grow more than 50 inches long and served as shofars or ceremonial horns in the ancient Jewish temple. Other animals, like the Persian fallow deer, were totally extinct in Israel.
Today, thanks to a special breeding program, you can actually see them in many parts of Israel in nature.
There's a Noah's Ark Visitor Center designed to capture the biblical concept of preserving animal life.
This is one of our symbols and which connect the biblical story to the actual thing that we are doing here and now.
Yet the biblical zoo is about more than just animals. It's about coexistence in Jerusalem.
Actually, this is one of the best places to be with the children, to spend the time with the children in the afternoon in Jerusalem.
We want everybody to come and feel welcome in a place that has a common interest, which is the animals, which is nature, which is conservation.
Well, hopefully when you come here to Israel, you'll get to see the biblical zoo for yourself. That's it for this edition. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time right here in Jerusalem.